bevo.com.
Yeah, because the vast majority of CEOs out there in the marketplace are obviously of medium-sized organizations, not of those giants. So what other advice would you give to them, Tom?
The German answer is phenomenally good work. One of the companies we looked at, which is now a couple $1 billion in size, is one of their machine tool companies called Trumpf. And the answer to the Trumpf deal is they make better stuff than other guys. Or, per the standard view, but Seth certainly underscores it, we did not cover these people, but they're classic Mittelstand. It's a small company, and in the world of movie production, and we've all either seen them or seen them on the telly or what have you, those shockingly complex robotic chairs that the cameramen use on the big movie scenes. Well, there are two companies, as I understand it, both German, that own somewhere in the neighborhood of 100% of that market. Now, if you and I were bright young man, you're the bright young man, I was the used to be bright young man perhaps, would we take those guys on? Not unless we took leave of our entire senses. But it's owning a market like that. I wrote in that, or wrote about it years ago and did a little TV thing on a wonderful German Mittelstand, sub-Mittelstand company called Goldman Productions. And they had something like 12 employees and a 50% market share. And they made this weird chemical that goes into what's called through coloring in candles. And the stuff they put on the outside of candles tends to phase. If you do it in through coloring, it doesn't fade. But they are de facto untouchable because they're so good. Now, the flip side of that is the iPod and the iPhone do not have a half-life, even though it's Apple, which is a long way from infinite. And so but again, back to this other rant of the companies we never write about, the extraordinary. I mean, let's go to where people really work. The extraordinary 11-person accountancy in a town of 17,000 that is incredibly client conscious, has very intelligent people. They can own that market. I was down in the south part of New Zealand a couple of years ago in Invercargill, and I actually published this picture and was just walking by a building of a little accountancy in Invercargill, and I thought, this is the economy. This is what Seth is talking about, albeit the problem is that neither Seth nor I nor you talk about these people or write about these people. And I don't know a damn thing about them, but there's a little office building in Invercargill, and it was a sharp-looking office building, and I will bet you dollars to donuts that they have a hell of a market position. So, I agree with Seth, but again, in 90% of the economy, it doesn't mean that you have to be Apple trying to whack somebody else or Shell trying to get the drop on Exxon or vice versa.
bevo.com